Good morning. Welcome to the No Way Jose podcast. It is May 19th, Tuesday. As you can see, I have no kitty, so there is no kitty of the day, but you know what that means. We have a guest. I'm your host, though, Jose Galison. I messed up the order of things, but we do have a guest, Ken Silva, today. He just dropped his new book last week. We have plenty to go through today, but with that, if you like seeing my hot takes, typically around Monday through Friday around 11 a.m. Eastern when we make it on time, or if you just like seeing the kitty of the day, or whatever guests I bring on from time to time, like Ken being a regular, then be sure to hit the subscribe button and hit that bell for notifications. That way you can see when we're live and when we're dropping new videos. We'll see you in the show.
Beautiful thing right now.
Rise and shine. It's a beautiful day. I'm alright.
About a third of the building has been blown away.
This is the bridge to white light.
Our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts.
And at that point, we were taken for another round of questioning, this time related to our allegedly being members of Mossad.
It's crazy evil.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. We have plenty to go through today. I have Ken Silva joining me. We'll be starting off talking about. I do have an icebreaker content for you guys, not a name segment, but we'll go through. I'll give a little bit of a short explanation, not waste too much of Ken's time, as to why I'm just now back on YouTube. Some of you may have realized, where the hell have you been? What the hell's going on? Or just now realizing this, as this is my first video back on YouTube in over a week. Well, we'll explain all that. There's plenty of content for you to catch up on other platforms if this is news to you. And then we'll get into Weaponizing J6, probably talk a little bit about Massie, how we're going to avoid that. I mean, it is the election is today. And then we'll be talking Fed distractions. Unless we get a little bit late in time, we might axe that for a future time. I have Ken on for time. We'll see. We'll see how quickly we get through all of it, but pleasure to have Ken back on with us. We will, after Ken leaves, we will go into our normal foreign policy portion of the show that we usually do at the front, but pushing that at the back for our guest for today. But Ken, pleasure to have you back. You just had a new book drop. I think I've already plugged it at least once in the show, but now we have a much bigger platform now I'm back on YouTube, so here we go. What's up, my friend?
Doing well, and thanks a lot for the plug. Yeah, the book's out, available on Amazon, and pretty proud with how it turned out. I think it's rich with content, but it's only about 200 pages, but it's packed with over 350 footnotes, and I don't just vomit out the information. I pride myself on being a good long-form writer. It's written, in a narrative format, more or less chronologically. Tried to model it after Oklahoma City, what the investigations missed, why it matters. The title's kind of an ode to that. And I know you've read and listened to that book, as have I, and it's riveting. It's not just like facts about McVeigh. It really tells the story. It paints scenes where they're like building the bomb at the Geary Lake. And so I tried to do that too, kind of paint action scenes and various things like that.
Awesome. And I look forward to cracking into it. I'm still working on Kathy's book right now. I think I got like a little less than 50 pages left on Kathy's book. So I'll probably be cracking this one next. It seems worthwhile information to shove in the old noggin, although I've read plenty of your work. I don't think we're going to be talking a whole lot about that today. We'll be talking about a lot of your other work. Definitely. You cover all sorts of topics. But to start off, a little bit more for the audience than it is for you, although I think you'll probably get a laugh along the way. I figured for our Icebreaker content, I just have one clip, and it's kind of a little bit of a fun way, I think, to explain to the YouTube audience that it's like, what's going on here? What exactly happened? Oh my God! Sorry, give me 1 second. I'm trying to set up the video behind the scenes, and of course it pooped the bed as soon as I got it ready because StreamYard sucks. But 1 second, here we go. Now it's back. But I figured here's a funny little video and a kind of a quick way to explain this. What I'm about to show you is who I think is likely the evil genius who is responsible for taking me off of YouTube. I say that obviously being a little bit silly. We're going to make fun of him, but I think there is truth to it. I think there's a solid chance my channel may have gone struck last week because the one and only time I think I've ever really talked about the quartering, which good job, Jeremy. If you did that, now I'm on your ass because I've never really gave a shit about you at all. But I mentioned it one time in the show because I just had heard about this situation. It was kind of it seemed like a drama cloud from the outside, but when you peek your head in, there's actually some substance. Looks like Jeremy Hambly, aka the quartering, has been abusing his privileges over at YouTube. Now, I don't think he has these powers anymore. I think he had a YouTube representative that he was leaning strongly on to get people taken down for, like, I think they would find like things to strike them for. I don't think it was like he was like some god of YouTube or something. But I did mention him, and I brought up the whole thing. And there's been a ton of other channels who have gotten nuked for this. And I know I sound schizophrenic because I don't have necessarily a huge show. But as I've explained a few times in the show already, it's a common thing for content creators to use like AI tools to search for their names being mentioned on shows and stuff for things like networking, or the sinister side of things for stuff like this to see who's talking shit about you. And he has been on a tear of nuking people. So I just got off a strike, but I figured it just for funsies. This is the Icebreaker. We found this guy, Jeremy Hambly, since this whole... I do recommend... I'm not going to go into it now. If you want to, in a bunch of my Icebreaker content sections in the past week over on Rumble, I talked a few times about this to give the backstory of what happened here. It is a lot. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of drama, but... just what has come out of it is Jeremy Hambly fucked up big time. Some people were making fun of him online, and so he decided to start taking down a bunch of channels. And then a bunch of people started making fun of him, so he started to take down more of their channels, thus increasing the shitstorm. Now we've gone to the point where there's a whole cottage industry surrounding making fun of Jeremy Hambly. So with that, I did find in this dig something I thought was absolutely hilarious. Now forgive me. It is sideways, but I don't think it really matters for the purpose of enjoying. It's just the way that whoever has this clip. But here is Jeremy Hambly trying to find Iran on a map. And bear in mind, this is a man with over 2 million subs whose job is to cover the news. So here you go. Have fun with this. And then we'll talk a little more.
Straight to, because who knows where they were holding.
So he's pulled this up as though Jeremy has any idea, by the way, how many ships are regularly going through the strait, what sort of numbers he should be looking at, what any of these triangles even mean, let alone he can't even find it on a map. Let's watch as Jeremy Hambly just completely fumbles. Watch this, guys. This is crazy.
Okay.
You know, the holding pattern was. So if we go...
He's zooming in to Southeast Asia. Look, he's in Indonesia and Australia, for fuck's sake. Jer! Look at Hannah's face.
You want to pause and let the audience know there's longer versions of this. This is like an almost 10-minute long clip. So there's actually goes on after we stop here. But let's play the rest of it.
He's in South America.
The Strait of Hormuz.
South America.
Is it?
Now he's
no,
in
it's not here. I gotta
North
zoom out more.
America. That's the Atlantic Ocean. That's the Atlantic Ocean. You're in the wrong fucking hemisphere, you mongoloid.
What's he looking for? What's the thing called?
I couldn't. He's looking for Iran.
Now watch this. Warski just became the guy. The other guy just became aware of it. You're not gonna be able to see on the thing, but he's gonna run his cursor over where he thinks he is, and he's just a normal goofball. And here you go. He figures it out almost immediately.
Not even. Buddy, are you fucking retarded? Andy had a better idea. At least Andy knows where the Middle East fucking is.
By the way, I did get my daughters. I took my globe. I have a globe over here. I got my daughters. I have a 13-year-old, 16-year-old, and I just curious, I had them find Iran, spun it real quick, both in less than 10 seconds, like almost immediately. So it's just absolutely astounding. So there's loads of fun here. And one last note on this to kind of, I guess, more of an appeal for those who do want it. It is a kind of probably my favorite side story that is of substance. Because I do like to hang out in areas of substance, but I like to have fun too. And this is the perfect combo of this. Because these are people getting dragged for being, I think for good reason, for essentially censorship on the internet, being completely opposite of what they stand for. And as such, the story has like unfolded into whole different side storylines. For example, Melanie Mack, Quartering's co-host, who has basically, I guess, gone online. I've seen examples of her essentially co-signing his behavior, essentially acting stupid, and she ended up going actually on Michael Knowles' thing. So, and from that, people uncovered that apparently he did a gay sex scene in college. So it's gone like, to be fair, it is like an acting thing. So they didn't really actually, but it's just funny, the idea of like the way this story is unfolded. So one last clip, I guess, for you guys, just for fun. Now it's a little bit more salacious. I mean, I think Knowles, admittedly, was some sort of actor or something. But here is a gay sex scene with Michael Knowles. So this is a sort of fun that you can have. But at its core, what is happening is, individuals, people who have been shut down by larger content creators fighting back and just making fun of people. So this is kind of great, just seeing all these people get their due. So now essentially the Quartering people have become radioactive over in Daily Wire land, although they're having their own trouble. But let's watch this.
You okay, buddy? Gonna vom?
No. Takes a hard turn.
You afraid to go inside? It's not that. I can leave.
All right, and that's the scene. So it's not like you actually see him have sex, but it's just funny seeing this. This is a fun little side storyline that I'd recommend. Perfect content for this portion of the show. The Icebreaker content. I highly recommend people go check it out. I'm going to try to stop talking about it as much in the show, but I figured I ought to let you guys know I am back after a strike. I was not able to post on YouTube for a week, and this is likely due to opening my big yapper when there was some real censorship fuckery afoot. So it was kind of the perfect little side story for me. But I'm back off of my Rumble timeout. We are here. I don't know. I'm not expecting anything from you, Ken, here. It's more for the audience, but I don't know. Any thoughts on these sort of news purveyors as you are? I know these are, you are like a news purveyor, and you're in the same career as Jeremy Hambly in a certain sense.
Oh God.
How does that make you feel?
I haven't been following this very closely, but I'm glad to see you stick it to him, because my only interaction with him is when I wrote a series of stories about Benny Johnson getting sued for plagiarizing content. And apparently the Quartering is friends with Benny. So he reviewed my story on one of his live streams and was trashing me, saying like, I don't even remember what his argument was, but just saying this is no big deal. Why is like a conservative media outlet attacking Benny Johnson? Like, I think he called me a liberal or something. It was just absolutely ridiculous.
Noted staunch right-winger Benny Johnson. Yeah, a dissident right,
Yeah, and it shows you how dumb this guy is. Like, one of my quotes is like, Benny Johnson is getting sued for stealing this content, and he's required to disgorge his profits, which means like give back the money he earned on the stolen content. And Jeremy goes, well, I don't know what disgorge means, which is, I just found ironic, since he's like such a fat ass. It's like, clearly you know what gorge means. So, fuck that guy.
Yeah, I mean, also, if you are sending this, you are literally by whatever, you're either on your phone or on your desktop, and you can Google real fucking quick. So I don't know, weird flex, but he is kind of an idiot. So, all right, let's get into let's talk a little bit of J6 weaponizing. It looks like the whole weaponization thing perhaps has gone flipped on its head. It's looking like it's being weaponized against us. At least that's the vibes I'm getting. I want to get your thoughts. I saw some new stuff come across my feed recently, so I wanted to get your I know you've been paying attention a lot better than I have to the weaponization stuff. So I don't know if this is quite turbo lib stuff, but especially given the nature of the Trump administration and the crazy corruption. I haven't really done a good enough job on this channel, I think, covering especially the financial corruption. One of these days I may have to take a little bit of a dive into that, but it's frankly, it's absolutely astounding when you dig into it. It's obvious as can be, but it looks like, I don't know if this is a turbo lib like framing thing, but it looks like they're kind of, apparently there's now this $1.7 billion, they're calling it like a slush fund for the January 6ers. here's this clip, and I'd kind of like to pick your brain on a little bit. But let's see what Trump had. I mean, Trump, if it is, maybe on the up and up, Trump doesn't, I think, do it any favors with this clip. But let's watch it.
The Justice Department has this new fund that was announced today, $1.7 billion.
Yeah.
Why should taxpayers pay for the January?
Well, it's been very well received, I have to tell you. I know very little about it. I wasn't involved in the whole creation of it and the negotiation. But this is reimbursing people that were horribly treated. It's anti-weaponization. They've been weaponized. They've been, in some cases, imprisoned wrongly. They paid legal fees that they didn't have. They've gone bankrupt. Their lives have been destroyed. And they turn out to be right. I mean, it was a terrible period of time in the history of our country. And they worked on it. I know the Justice Department, it's really been working on it very hard. There's been numerous other occasions over the years where things like this have been done. But these were people that were weaponized and really treated brutally by a system that was so corrupt, with corrupt people running it, and they're getting reimbursed for their legal fees and the other things that they had to.
Okay, sounds like he's framing this as reimbursement for legal fees for J6ers. Now, but I see other people like I see this Kyle Griffin guy, which I think is a little bit of a turbo lib from stuff I've seen. He says official Trump DOJ just confirmed the creation of a 1.776. Well, that's kind of ironic. 1776. I'm just noticing that billion slush fund that can be used to pay Trump allies who claim they've been wrongfully targeted by the Biden's admin's weaponization, including reportedly J6 insurrectionists. I mean, I guess the idea is depending on how vague they're being here. Then I see this guy is also saying CNN's also reporting the settlement also forces the IRS to end any active audits into Trump, his family, and his businesses. Not only does it further protect POTUS from accountability, but he's expanding his shield to Don Jr. and Eric and Ivanka and Jared and their interests. Now, I don't know if you've dug into this at all. I know you pay a little bit more attention to this stuff, but this did just drop in the last 24 hours, so I did want to at least bring it up to you. But have you waded into these waters at all, and what are your thoughts?
I just read an article about it. I don't know a whole lot, but this stems from the IRS leaking Trump's tax returns illegally, I believe, like around his first administration. And this lawsuit's finally being settled. And part of the settlement entails the establishment of this 1776 compensation fund. I don't know any of the details in terms of who can qualify for it, how you can claim money, like what kind of damages you have to prove in order to be compensated. But I tell you what, I'm not necessarily in favor of it, but it's certainly good politics. I mean, get in office, you punish your enemies, and you reward your friends. Fire all the USAID workers and all these turbo libs that have been getting this kind of like patronage funding for decades, and break off a little something for the right-wing chuds. It's a very smart move politically. The big question is whether this is actually going to hold up in court. We already have, Democrats have filed a legal brief saying this is totally illegal. It'll probably get struck down on appeal like so many other of Trump's initiatives. But I guess we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think especially, it sounded like there's for court fees, although I guess maybe the idea would be for back court fees. I was going to say you'd think they could just clear whatever, but I guess it could be stuff they owe. But anyways, moving on, kind of in the same vein of J6 being weaponized against us, looks like we hate to say a toe-to-toe, but a toe-to-toe here. It's looking like me and you are basically prophets of some sort. I don't know. I said dig your brain a little bit more. You posted the other day that Steve Baker may not be making it to Discovery. You posted a document showing that he has, essentially he's been made aware. I don't think he was actually individually served, which we'll get into that in a moment because that's a whole other can of worms, and that might be a little bit of a funny side thing. But yeah, looks like Ken will not be going to court. It looks like, or they're going to be doing some sort of default judgment of some sort. Now, me and you are neither of you are lawyers, but you probably have better grip of this than I do. looks like he's about to be legally cooked. But at least we're winning the what was it? I forget how he said it. The
Public
the hearts
opinion.
the public opinion, the court of public opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it really gives people the warm and fuzzies when you're not even showing up for the court date. But yeah.
Yeah. I assume by this point that most of your viewers are familiar with what's going on here. Steve Baker and I had a debate the other week on your show about the merits of his pipe bomb reporting. He accused this former Capitol Police officer who now works security for the CIA of being the January 5th/6th pipe bomber. And it was entirely underpinned by so-called gait recognition analysis, which measures how somebody walks. He said he had a government contractor run this analysis comparing the ex-Capitol Police officer, how she walked on January 6th, on surveillance footage walking around the Capitol, compared to the person walking around the night of January 5th. It's supposedly a 94% match. So he publishes this story saying all this, but he doesn't actually show any of his evidence. And it doesn't look like he actually has the analysis that was run. It was run by a government contractor who he won't identify. He says he'll go to jail before he gives up his source. And so I've been arguing that, well, he's going to be successfully sued and he's going to make this former Capitol Police officer rich. And during our debate, he said, well, all's going to come to light in court. Like, we might even have my anonymous source testify. We're going to show our evidence and we're going to prove everything that we've been saying based on off of anonymous sourcing. And it's like, during the debate, it's like, okay, you're telling me this. I can't really counter that if like you're promised to do this. But it turns out on Friday, I saw that the plaintiff, the former Capitol Police officer, Shawnee Kirkhoff, has filed a motion for default because Baker hasn't responded to the lawsuit at all. Allegedly, he was served on April 22nd, and he had until May 13th, which I believe was last Wednesday, to file some sort of response. He missed that deadline, so now they want a default. Baker claims that he wasn't properly served. I went back and looked at the subpoena, and it was served to a, quote, co-resident, some dude that I guess they lived together or something. And so far, I just looked at the court docket, and Baker still hasn't responded. So we'll see what happens. Usually a court wants to decide these things on the merits of the case. They're not just going to say, okay, Baker, you're disqualified. We're going to just put a judgment in you right away. I believe he'll have a chance. I hope he does. Like, I want to see him actually follow up on anything he says, because so far he hasn't gotten off on not to a good start. So again, we'll see what happens, but it does look like we're being proven right that he's just going to get absolutely rolled in court. And, I don't know how that's going to win any kind of battle of public opinion.
Yeah, it is. Doesn't really give warm and fuzzies there. It's like, I mean, obviously, I think you'd probably agree. If I said multiple times in that debate that I was like, if I'm completely open to this being Shawnee who did it, if anything, I wouldn't even really be all that surprised. It would kind of make sense in some ways. So it's like, it's not that astounding. So if this was, foolproof proof that she did it, it's like, hell yeah, I want this to come out. I want it. But at the same time, this is on nothing. This is a trust me, bro. But there's a Fed that told me that you have to trust me, bro. Yeah, it's completely incomprehensible, and it's one of those things that kind of blows my mind how many people fall into this trap. Just as I think I've said a couple times, I don't have to trust you. Like, I don't really trust much of anyone. Like, if you're reading someone's work and it's good work, it's like it speaks for itself. I mean, there might be some small, like as you've said, like maybe anonymous details to flesh out certain things. It's like, whatever, I can trust you to that small degree or trust whatever given journalist. But for the most part, I don't trust any journalist. And that's kind of how it should be, really. So,
yeah, I think there's like this binary thinking with a lot of readers where, oh, well, if you're criticizing the FBI, if you're anti-Fed, in your work, then we're going to be on your side no matter what, where they don't think in a nuanced fashion like people who closely study parapolitics, where no, just because you're against the FBI doesn't mean that automatically means you're telling the truth. You could be an agent of disinformation. You could just be a crank. So I think, yeah, people need to think about these things more carefully before they just automatically follow somebody because he or she is a critic.
All right, back to him getting served. I guess let's get onto the side thing of like, did he really get served? And this kind of opens up to, I guess, a little bit of fun in some ways. Apparently, the proof of service was that Shawnee's people gave the summons to a co-resident of Steve named David Fincher, which is, I guess we're kind of sort of doxing here, but whatever. I mean, this is already... but this is, it says down here, person served, Fincher, co-resident, Caucasian male, 70, hair gray, height 6 foot, weight 220, authorized to accept served under FRCP Rule 4. So, and then everyone then becomes a lawyer in your replies saying whether this is legit or not. So what is your feeling of how legit this serving is? Like, is there some way that he can worm his way out of this and be like, I wasn't served, or is this pretty legit? Is this common practice that you're aware of? I mean, I'm just curious.
I'm not too familiar with it. I could only go by what the feedback was, and a lot of lawyers did comment on it, and it seemed overwhelmingly like, yes, this is legitimate service. And it's coupled with the fact that Steve Baker has demonstrated that he knows this lawsuit exists. Like, if it's one thing if somebody files a lawsuit and you're just over minding your own business, and you could plausibly claim that, well, like, I didn't even know anything was filed against me. In this case, he's tweeting about it every day, like how he's going to go to Discovery, like the GIF with Obi-Wan Kenobi. So it really looks bad. And I would guess that, yes, this guy got the papers, probably still told Steve Baker about it, and his amateur legal analysis was, well, they didn't hand me the papers, which is how you should be served, so I'm going to pretend like I didn't get served. And he's playing games, it seems like, if that is true. I don't think a judge is going to look on that too kindly, especially considering how public he has been talking about this lawsuit. He can't really claim ignorance. The whole purpose of service is to make sure you have a chance to respond. He knows the lawsuit's been filed, and now, like, he's trying to claim technicalities, like, oh, well, they didn't hand me the papers.
Yeah, he's trying to have, like, you know how we in our debate with him, I think there was like a couple questions we asked, or things we stated that he went, no, and then spent about like 3 minutes explaining exactly that. Like, I'm kind of already priming for that, because I'm already expecting that, like, somebody a year from now would be like, oh, well, you said you were going to do this, and you didn't, then it was the 3-page word vomit of whatever explanation of how, oh, well, they didn't serve me correctly. And so, okay. Well, I have an interesting little, oh, by the way, if it wasn't painfully obvious, I guess I didn't want to be too underhanded, but a lot of people are joking that I guess they think he might be a little light in the loafers for this. I don't know. I mean, it could just be a roommate, a little bit weird for people in their 70s to be having roommates, but whatever, the financial times are tight, whatever. Maybe they're buddies. I don't I don't know.
It is ironic because Kyle Seraphin did a whole spiel maybe 8 months ago about how FBI Director Kash Patel is living with some billionaire in Las Vegas. He's like, what 50-year-old man lives with another man? Like, definitely implying that Kash is a closeted homosexual, and meanwhile his buddy's doing the exact same thing. So I can't help but note the irony there.
Okay, not to get off tangent, you mentioned that, and it made me think. I bring that up every now and then, but maybe I should stop bringing it. Is Kyle the only thing back, the only source for that, or do you recall offhand? Because that is, or no, I think it was some sort of documents that proved it out. I think Kyle wasn't full of shit there, right?
No, that's definitely true. The Las Vegas Journal or some local publication wrote about how Patel is living there full time. He conducts a lot of his business out of that home, which they're arguing is some sort of security risk. He should probably be in D.C. more often, but whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't look good. But okay, let's go down. I want to go a little bit more down this rabbit hole of Steve Baker. I found this the other day, and I just wanted to get your thoughts. I got a couple of clips. Maybe just watch the one. I'm sharing here. She Thinks Freely on Twitter. Which I think this is the person who initially found the clip of Steve Baker with the kind of behind the Iron Curtain thing we mentioned in the debate, where he was part of some Christian group. I think it was her. Now,
Yes.
I do want to point out before we go into a little bit, I think there's some interesting, she points out some interesting patterns, but I do want to point out front that she clearly is, I think, a little bit more like pro-MAGA biased, if that makes sense. So I think that's kind of the angle of her pattern connecting here. So just throwing that out, so don't necessarily, as I'm presenting it, anyone think that I'm necessarily, but I do think there's something interesting here. Apparently, what she put here is Jim Erdman, the CIA's COVID whistleblower, in his sworn testimony indicates in October 2025, Steve Baker contacted ODNI with information allegedly related to the identity of J6 pipe bomber. What he excludes from his testimony is that early in the year, around March 2025, Joe Kent reached out to Steve Baker and invited him to join the ODNI's dig team. Says, listen to him tell Kyle Seraphin the story. The world sure is small. Now, she does share a little excerpt of, I believe, what Erdman said, who is which we may go down that little rabbit hole in your moment, but he's another CIA whistleblower, so he's just kind of this guy. Now, he's alleging, he's, I guess, in his stuff, he's mentioning Steve Baker, kind of cross-referencing each other. What I particularly find at least the most interesting, obviously there's some, if you're getting schizophrenic and recognizing patterns, there's a lot to recognize here, but I think the most substantive thing here is just the degree of coziness to federal agents, so which is kind of what we were getting at before. So let's watch this clip to let him say in his own words.
Shortly after the formation of Tulsi's DIG, the Directors Initiative Group, which was actually a mandated project from Trump himself, from the White House, to investigate the weaponization of the 18 intelligence bureaus, agencies within the federal government against an American people. And one of the things that they were specifically mandated by the president to investigate was the weaponization of the intelligence community against J6ers. I'm not the expert on January 6th, but I am one of them. And with not necessarily even expert on any one particular topic, but the grand scheme of things. And I know personally more information than the DIG, the Directors Initiative Group, in the total of all the people at the DIG knew. This one individual carries with himself more information about January 6th than they would be able to accumulate in 4 years. Because I've already done the work. They have to. They're starting from ground zero, right? So I got a series of calls from individuals at ODNI asking me if I would help the dig. Now, that in and of itself does not make me a Fed. They were looking for my expert opinions so that they would have a starting point and know indeed what to look at and what not to waste their time on looking at, right? As they preparing information and evidence for the president himself per his directive and per the directive of the director. That's why they call it the Directors Initiative Group, Tulsi Gabbard. One of the individuals that called me was a man that I had never met before by the name of Joe Kent. I didn't know who he was, but it was basically just an introductory call in which we had been introduced by somebody else in ODNI, and thought that we should have a conversation. And we did. It was very pleasant. This was over a year ago, maybe actually probably right at exactly a year ago this time. And then I received a call from somebody who was, I actually don't know what his official title was.
All right, that's the end of the clip. I do want to add one little last piece of context. Instead of playing this whole other clip, she did quote tweet here. Now, that Jim Erdman guy, the one who's cross-referencing him in his testimony, his current testimony, that's the CIA COVID one that happened not too long ago or whatever. I've seen a lot of people talking about that recently. But he apparently runs this organization called Feds for Freedom. And I don't know how crazy substantive it is, but I guess apparently, I did watch this clip, and it's only 30 seconds long. I guess we could. But it says, back in September 2024, Kyle Seraphin, fired FBI agent and self-proclaimed whistleblower, was interviewed on their podcast, during which the interviewer indicates that Jim Erdman had been using Seraphin's case to help theirs, which I don't really feel like that necessarily means a lot, but the idea of these people are, I mean, the name Feds for Freedom, he's running that group. It is kind of like, are you kidding me? At least for I don't know. As we're watching this video, what do they show in here? It's all connected on the screen the whole time. So I guess if you are being schizo, these things can make you prick up. But there's definitely something here, I think, to be of concern. So I mean, what are your thoughts? I kind of just happened upon this in the wild, and I was like, holy shit, a lot going on here. I think really, though, the big one, though, is just Baker obviously being so blasé about working with the feds. So, but I mean, even just all the different connections and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what to make of this. I haven't looked into it too deeply. I mean, it sounds plausible that Baker knew somebody over at the ODNI, and when they're forming this dig group, said, well, hey, I know Steve Baker. He knows a lot about J6. Let's get him involved with this project. Like, I guess, I don't know. That She Thinks Freely account does, that's interesting information. It's definitely stuff we should know about. But yeah, I think she's suggesting that this is some sort of conspiracy involving Thomas Massie to like undermine the Trump administration. And I don't agree with that. Yeah. That's pretty much all I got to say about it. Just a little
same
silly.
here. That's basically where I was at with it. I was kind of like, I don't buy all this, but there's definitely some interesting stuff here. So I think at the very least, just showing, I don't know, the way these people move and how chummy some of them are. It doesn't necessarily mean anything bad. Some people just have kind of boomer ways of looking at the Fed, and we are talking about a big old boomer. Who knows? Maybe he's a big old super top secret CIA glowy, or maybe he's just a dumb boomer. I don't know. It's hard.
Yeah, that's the eternal question.
Moving on, let's talk a little bit about Massie. Apparently, this guy has been outed as a man who fucks. So go tell your friends, tell everyone. His name's been run through the mud. We covered this the other day. I don't really want to hone too much in on the impropriety stuff. We could talk about that, I guess, if you want. It's kind of, I don't think anything in there that's really come out that makes him sound too bad. I guess really the biggest crime is that he fornicated with a woman too soon after his wife died, which, I mean, whatever. I mean, I don't know. It's a whole other question of ethics and how long you have to wait to get, nookie after the old lady dies. I mean, I don't know. One thing doesn't necessarily mean the other, but either that aside, the Trump administration is, currently, even up to today, we're seeing all sorts of clips. I think they've spent the most on this primary there's ever been on any primary, trying to get rid of this guy, up to including, I don't believe I've ever seen an example like this. You can tell me if you've seen another one, Ken, but here's, I think, to kind of set the stage for this discussions. Here's Pete Hegseth shaking the head of Ed Galreen, or however you say his name, the competitor of Massie. So the current leader of the Department of War is here essentially stumping for a political somebody in Kentucky. So let's
during
watch
a
this
war.
as well. Yeah, during a war. Like, what the fuck? Let's watch this. Is that audio coming over god awful for you too?
Yeah, because I saw something going around like, oh, this is off to a really bad start for Hegseth, and it showed like the shitty audio. So I think
so this is
that happened in real life.
Oh, so this is real life. Okay, let's go back to it, guys. This is real life.
Yeah.
Well, outstanding. It's wonderful to be here with all of you. That's good Navy talk. Is that good Navy? Oh, we're going to do this Navy-Army thing now, too? You already started it, didn't you? Well, it's great to be in Kentucky with great Americans. I just came from Fort Campbell with other great Americans, the best of our nation, and it's an honor to be here with all of you. I have to say up front, for the lawyers, that I'm here in my personal capacity as a private citizen, a fellow American, and a fellow combat veteran, here to support Navy SEAL Ed Galrine.
All right, well that's the key. I can't deal with that on my ears anymore. That's awful. But yeah, that's it's astounding. You think he could just come in here? I mean, have you ever seen anything like it? I don't think I've ever seen anything even close to this. I didn't even ever even consider this to be a possibility of a thing. Bringing out, I don't know, the members of the current cabinet for, I don't know. This is for someone who's of their party. So we've got all the stops coming out up to including Trump calling Thomas Massie a terrible congressman and a Democrat. So this is where we're at. And then at the same time, we have gas around 450. Trump doubling down on his quote the other day, where he said he doesn't think about Americans' financial situation in regards to the Iran war. And he doubled down saying, that's right. That's a perfect statement. So I don't know, the perfect cacophony of all sorts of crazy stuff going on. I know, Ken, what are your thoughts? I don't know if we really need to linger here too long, but we got to at least mention that this is going on today. It does seem to be, I'm not really electoral politics guy. I advocate non-voting. So but it is just at the very least, this is a unique race. It's fucking weird. So I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I've never seen anything like it. And I got to imagine that Hegseth is really in a gray area. It's like, imagine the FBI director stumping for some congressional candidate. It's really bizarre. It boggles the mind. I'm not the biggest Massie stan, but I do think he is the best congressman. I would like to see him stay in just to have that voice given the kind of bully pulpit. It'll be interesting to see if the boomers are convinced by this really sloppy Trump propaganda. I don't know if you saw the latest hit on Massie that came from Laura Loomer. Did you cover the Pinecone story?
I did not. I kind of gave up just at cursory level. Whenever I covered it, it was just the broad came out. They said they did stuff. I think the worst that was being accused at that time. It was before the Loomer tell-all. But she was saying, I think that basically they had smashed a couple weeks after his wife died, which, I mean, I get some people feeling that way. If anything, that's like a woman-coded thing. At least for me personally, you can love your wife, and I don't think it's really all that astounding that, especially if you're distraught about it, that is one way men will cope with things. So between drugs, sex, all of this, he may have been in a rough spot. So I don't think it's that astounding. And here she is blabbing about it. So I don't know, it kind of, it does sound like maybe he was in a rough spot, sinking in low places, if you catch my drift. So
yeah, well, the Pinecone story, allegedly he would take this is kind of based, honestly. He would take Viagra right before he went through TSA. That way, when they search him or feel him up, he's got a full-fledged hard-on. And I don't even think this is true, but this is text messages released by Laura Loomer where Massie's telling some girlfriend about this, and I just thought that was actually pretty hilarious.
So he was probably just fucking with her. I know, I'll tell my wife men for fun will gaslight women. I don't know if you do that, but just for fun I'll gaslight my wife occasionally, just to see what. I wonder if she'll buy it, and then I'll just oh, she bought it. I'm all right, we'll just move on.
Yeah.
I kind of doubt Massie was literally getting bricked up for TSA. I mean, maybe he was. It sounds like something he just thought was funny to tell a lady, but I don't know. Yeah, I didn't get too deep into all of that. Yeah, it did seem. He was smashing. I mean, what really is there more to say about that? He didn't wait as long as they seem to think he did. I don't know. But yeah, weird race. I mean, this does seem a little bit like a distraction, although the amount of money that they're dumping into this makes it seem like this is probably kind of important. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm of both minds. If there was a race for me to advocate for being involved in, this would probably be one of the few ones I would maybe. But yeah, I don't know. It's a unique situation that we are here in this moment. Everything crashing down. I don't know how this is going to work out. I'll be talking a lot more in depth about this with Matt Wolfson tomorrow night, so we'll already have the results by that point. I think. I don't know how long usually congressional races take for you to get the results out. It should be good by then, I think. At least we'll have a better idea. So me and Matt Wolfson digging deep into that. I mean, hell, even Ed Galrine, is if we're talking spooks, that guy claims he was SEAL Team 6, claims all sorts of wild stuff. So I mean, it really is the establishment versus Massie, and I don't know. We'll see how it works out. I don't know if it's necessarily in his favor or not. I mean, the level of parity the Trump administration has reached is ridiculous. But I mean, I do think it is kind of a boomer region from my understanding of like the electoral map of where he's at. And I think it's an area that Trump won pretty resoundingly. So I think he's in for a tough race. So I'll be interested to see where that goes. But let's dig a little bit into some of the stuff that, with the alien stuff. And I know trying to distract you with congressmen diddling people. The real stuff that they're trying to, distract you from. One thing you shared the other day, but there's more stuff on the Buffalo mass shooting. So I don't know if you want to tell me a little bit about this. As all the alien stuff was dropping, they sneakily dropped some new Buffalo mass shooting information.
Yeah, this is pretty crazy. We now know that there's classified information involved in this case. And this is the early 2022 shooting where a kind of white supremacist named Peyton Gendron went to a Tops supermarket and shot it up. I think killed about 11 black people. And he live streamed it while he did it. He had a manifesto that referenced like the Great Replacements theory that came out. Everybody blamed like Tucker Carlson for influencing him, like total ridiculous spectacle, like these political points being made at the kind of the height of the whole woke era during the Biden Reich. But the scandal, it turns out that he had been communicating with a quote retired federal agent about 30 minutes before the shooting. He sent out a link to his live stream for the shooting. The federal agent was one of the people who received the link, and the FBI was investigating this supposedly. We never heard anything else after it was initially reported. And now we know that classified information is involved, which usually is invoked to hide fuckery as far as it goes with like online informants and undercover agents. A couple of big examples of where classified, it's called the Classified Information Procedures Act, which says that we could hide evidence even from the defendant. We don't have to provide it if it could harm national security. This was used in like the Pulse nightclub shooting, where we know the shooter's dad was an FBI informant and the shooter himself also may have been an FBI informant. There was the Garland shooting, where these two guys were going to shoot up a Draw the Prophet Muhammad contest in Garland, Texas, and they were being tailed by an undercover agent who was just watching them. They get out, they try to shoot up the place, but local cops gun them down immediately. And it turned out like the same, there was an FBI agent that was following him. And there was also, they were in touch with Glowies Online undercover FBI agents who were encouraging them to, quote, tear up Texas. And their guns were obtained through the Lone Wolf Gun Store, which is involved in both PatCon and Operation Fast and Furious. So really one of like the shadiest cases that we know about publicly. And this law also hit a bunch of information there. So I would guess that in this Buffalo case, they're probably hiding, what that, quote, retired federal agent was doing, or, hiding other stuff that probably shows the kid was provoked.
Yeah, I showing on the screen right here, too. You posted the other day about the Garland shooting as well. I figured we'd mention that in passing since they thread right into each other. He said the FBI agent who provoked the Garland shooting also testified that he encountered various FBI informants while posing as extremists online. He didn't know they were informants at first, and so he played along. So then here's from the transcript him saying just that. Tale as old as time, it seems. And speaking of new information coming out, last thing for you here. Apparently there's been something like 30,000 new pages dropped on Thomas Crooks recently. Patel and Bongino still saying they've disclosed everything. So just anything interesting to say about the 30K pages just showing up? Well, what's that all about? Because they had said that they had that's what they had, and now they're saying they have more. I'm assuming, I don't know if you've really been able to look through any of this information yet or what. I'm just curious.
No, this is all undisclosed pages. This is from a lawsuit filed by Judicial Watch last July around the 1-year anniversary, when it became apparent that the FBI wasn't going to voluntarily publish anything new. Of course, as you said, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino says we've already disclosed everything. There's nothing more to know. So Judicial Watch, to their credit, filed the lawsuit, and we got a status report in January saying we have 45,000 pages that are responsive to the lawsuit. A couple months later, they file another status report saying, oh, we found even more. It's up to 75,000. The Judicial Watch, kind of like Jesse Trenity's FOIA lawsuits, it's been successful to extent in that the Justice Department has agreed to make monthly disclosures. However, it's only been like 40 pages a month for 4 months. So we only have about 160 pages out of 75,000. I mean, do the math. It'll take over a century. We'll all be dead before all these pages are public at this rate. So hopefully Judicial Watch will file some sort of motion to up that production rate. Otherwise, we're going to be it's going to be like Chinese water torture, just them trickling it out. I'm sure hiding the important stuff. Probably the most interesting thing I found in the limited disclosure is that there are exemptions that cite B7D of FOIA, which is the provision that allows them to redact something if it has to do with a federal informant. So we know informants were involved in the Crooks case. There was an informant overseas that alleged that Iran was involved. So it could just be like random tips they're getting as opposed to like informants who were actually in touch with Crooks. But nevertheless, it is intriguing. There's like a couple pages already that have that B7D informant exemption. So it does make one wonder.
Well, with that, Ken, I guess you can go ahead and let people know where they can find you at. You got this book. I'm looking forward to cracking into it, seeing what we actually are able to glean about people like Thomas Crooks and some of the other goofy fellers who tried to take a stab at it. But let people know where they can find you at, places they can find your book. I think you have it on the Institute. I know it's on Amazon as well. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, I'll definitely have you on again sometime here soon. You are a frequent guest of the show, and for good reason.
Yep, always appreciate it. At Twitter, JD_cashless, headlineusa.com, and then the book, The Trump Assassination Plots, What the Investigations Missed, Why It Matters. It's on Amazon. We've got the Kindle version and a paperback, and I'm working on the audiobook. We'll hopefully have that out by the anniversary that's right around the corner.
And yeah, the artist, Mises Pieces, right?
That's
Twitter
right.
account,
Yeah,
Mises
shout out to
Pieces,
him.
Yeah.
Will Porter helped edit it. I know he's probably a Twitter mutual of yours. So It was a lot of people put a lot of time in to make this a really polished product. I mean, I pride myself on being a pretty good writer, but Will made it a lot better. So appreciate him too.
Hell yeah. Shout out to Will. With that, Ken, we'll let you go. We'll bring you on again here sometime soon. We'll see you, brother. You have a good one. Bye.
All right, you too. Sounds good. Bye.
All right, guys, let's roll through the chat. I abandoned you guys. Now, if you are someone who, you never know, it might be somebody new here. I usually give a little housekeeping at the beginning to remind you guys, but I forgot this morning. I break the show up into segments. We've already done pretty much all of them except for the foreign policy. And typically, when we don't have a guest like today, what we do is between each segment, I'll stop into the chat, say hello, do all that, check in with you guys. And I do timestamp this. So if you are someone who's catching this in the replay or listening and you don't want to have to be bothered with listening to chat banter, totally get it. Just go down the video or podcast description. Most platforms hyperlink it these days and just go to whatever the next segment is and bloop, go on past it. Now, I do try to give everyone typically a good morning, being as we're only going to, I think, pop into the chat now and maybe one other time. I don't know if we'll necessarily give everybody a good morning, maybe a little bit from the beginning, maybe a little bit from the bottom. But usually, typically, especially in solo episodes, I give everybody at least a good morning. And then after that, you got to catch my interest or catch my wallet. We are back on YouTube, so super chats should be a thing now, unless for some reason I got demonetized and don't know. But yes, you guys can leave a super chat. So you got to catch my interest or catch my wallet after that first good morning. But with that, let's roll in the chat, say some good mornings, and then we'll get into our foreign policy coverage of the day, and then we'll get the fuck out of here. And I will catch you guys tonight on Already Dead at 9:30 p.m. Eastern with the homie, assuming the internet feds don't get me again. Good morning, Qbert. Good morning, good morning. Good morning, Kmar Neal. Good morning, Joshman. Good morning, Fox Mulder. Fire Pixie says, "Where the hell you been, boy? I've done like 7. If you're on YouTube, you'll see there's like a 7-episode gap. There's a weekly Wolfson, and I think there's like something like 5 or 6 dumps or something. I don't know. And there's a bunch of episodes. No, there's 5. I think there's 5 dumps. I think there's an Already Dead in there, and then there's I'm gonna brain fart. I just said it. Weekly Wolfson, and there's a weekly Wolfson in there as well." Good morning, Mr. Woke Reich. Good morning. Good morning, Cuberto. Cubert says Massey's an MIT piece of shit. You really got something against MIT, huh? Good morning, Tom33 says, "Good to see Ken, a.k.a. Big Bro Galison." Good morning. Did I say good morning to you? Good morning, Northside. Good morning. Fuck the quartering as whole. Cut, click. Damn you, Jeremy Hambly. Yeah, that is from now, guys. From now on, anytime you have any internet misfortune whatsoever, like you get a post taken off of Facebook, you get a YouTube video struck, you get you're on Twitter timeout. It's from now on the meme is "Damn you, Jeremy Hambly." That's the move. From now on, he'll be remembered in the same way like Kobe is when people go to shoot, but it'll be the exact opposite. So a complete inversion of what he pretended to be. So it's great. What else we got? Good morning, Bug Fights. Good morning, Scott's Hugs. Good morning, JC. Good morning, Boomer Sooner. All right, now I'm going to the bottom. Oh, I caught Mustache in here. Good morning, Mustache. So I woke up early, but need to go back to sleep. I'll put on my laptop and let it run while I sleep. Hell yeah, that's right, guys. Even if you aren't going to watch, just play it. Good morning, Emily. Good morning, Bubba. Says, "What's up, dude? It's me, Chud the Builder. I just want to let you know P. Diddy is about to grope my butthole in prison for shooting his brother." Hell yeah. Good one. Good morning, Inked. Good morning, Tower Gang. Good morning, Cultural Swine Media. We're almost there. Good morning, Evan. Said, "Did Massie win?" I don't think it's over yet. No, I think it's through today. I'm not sure what time that would be over. All right, guys, let's get into some foreign policy. Let's get through that, and then we'll pop in the chat one more time. Trump said he's decided to hold off on plans to attack Iran on Tuesday due to requests from Gulf Arab allies. Now, I wasn't here with you guys yesterday. I had some errands I had to run. But yesterday, Trump had essentially made some threats, and there were also reports from Iran thinking that shit was going to pop off real soon. So everyone was kind of thinking stuff was going to kick off yesterday. Or today. My bad. I got mixed up. Nope. Trump said, "Just kidding." So he said on Truth Social on Monday they decided to hold off on a plan to attack Iran on Tuesday due to requests from the U.S. Gulf Arab allies. Now, this is kind of interesting because who knows, maybe this it really is. If this is legit, this is the Arab allies seemingly kind of, crying uncle. Like, I don't want any more of this shit. Like, this is going to really fuck us, and it will. So that totally makes sense. On the flip side, I know the U.S. has shown itself to be a duplicitous actor, really not seem to care a whole lot too much about its Gulf allies, at least in comparison to Israel, which is kind of wild. Considering the amount of money that goes back and forth between those groups, but whatever. So I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. This is weird to me. I don't really know. Some point I'm kind of getting. They could also kind of pull some sort of switcheroo here, kind of like they have the last couple times they've gone to talk with Iran, and they pull we're not going to attack you. Like, this would be the time that I could totally see them do it. Like, when they're like, "Oh, we're really not going to because just kidding, we did it." Like this, it would be something I could totally see them pulling a switcheroo like that at some point. So always be on the lookout. As they're kind of telegraphing that right, they might throw you a left. So be careful. And this is an administration that's apt to do so. So, but I don't know. It's perfectly plausible that they may have told him to fucking knock it off. So Trump claimed that the request to delay the attack came from the leaders of Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. President said they would oblige the request, but threatened that a U.S. attack on Iran could still happen at any moment. Based on my respect for the above-mentioned leaders, I have instructed Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Daniel Kane, and the U.S. military that we will not be doing the scheduled attack of Iran tomorrow, but have further instructed them to be prepared to go forward with a full large-scale assault of Iran. tomorrow, but have further instructed them to be prepared to go forward with a full, large-scale assault of Iran on a moment's notice in the event that an acceptable deal is not reached. He wrote, Trump said the Arab states requested delay because serious negotiations are now taking place, and that in their opinion, as great leaders and allies, a deal will be made which will be very acceptable to the United States of America as well as all countries in the Middle East and beyond. Earlier in the day, a senior U.S. official told Axios reporter Barak Ravid that Iran's latest response to negotiations being mediated by Pakistan was unacceptable to the U.S. because Tehran isn't caving to U.S. demands. The official warned that new U.S. strikes on Iran were likely. It's time for the Iranians to throw a bit of candy out. We need some real sturdy and granular conversation. If that's not going to happen, we still have a conversation through bombs, which will be a shame, the U.S. official has said. And then popping over to Cuba, which has been something that's seemingly been kind of on the side burner for a while, ready to go at any point. Kind of inching impact on regional peace and stability. Cuban leader also appeared to respond to a report from Axios, which cited unnamed U.S. officials who claimed Cuba's military has discussed using drones against the U.S. base at Guantanamo Bay, U.S. warships, or even potentially Key West, Florida. Buried in the report was acknowledgement the U.S. doesn't believe Cuba is an imminent threat or actively planning to attack American interests, that any alleged conversations about drone warfare were regarding potential responses to a U.S. attack, which that is something to be concerned about. I mean, especially me living here in Florida. I don't know if I really live in an area where they'd really be able to hit me, but especially people down like Key West, some of the coastal portions of the Florida, which I'm like sort of near the coast, but not really. I'm over like near Tampa Bay. Something to be concerned about. Like, I don't really know to what degree they have these sort of capabilities, but Cuba and Florida are really not that far at all. Cuba poses no threat, nor does it have aggressive plans or intentions against any country. It has none against the U.S., nor has it ever had any, something the government of that nation knows full well, particularly its defense and national security agencies, Diaz-Canel in his ex-post. Cuba, which already endures a multi-dimensional aggression from the U.S., does have the absolute and legitimate right to defend itself against a military onslaught, yet that cannot be wielded either logically or honestly as an excuse for imposing war on the noble Cuban people, the Cuban leader added. Besides the Axios story, another pretext being discussed is the possibility of the DOJ indicting former Cuban President Raul Castro, the brother of longtime leader Fidel Castro, over the 1996 downing of two planes belonging to. Now get this, especially if someone's followed the show for any period of time, you know this group I'm about to mention glows like the fucking sun. So imagine the gall of using this as your pretext. Belonging to a Cuban exile group, which killed 4 people. You mean basically the CIA? The idea appears to be to follow a similar playbook as the U.S. pursued regarding its attack on Venezuela. Now, keep in mind that CIA front the Cuban exiles. This was in 1996, so this is the pretext we may use to invade Cuba. This is like YouTube terms of service. It's like it can technically get anybody. President Trump has repeatedly threatened some sort of attack on Cuba, saying in March that he may have the honor of taking the country. U.S. has also imposed a ramped-up oil embargo in Cuba, which has caused a devastating humanitarian crisis in the country. So, I mean, I don't know. This concerns me. It seems as these issues, these conflicts get closer and closer to home, it's all the more and more for concern, because we legitimately could see actual or artificial attacks on, I mean, hell, that's what Operation Northwoods was. We were literally about to attack Cuba, and Operation Northwoods was, we're about to have a bunch of false flag attacks from Cuban exiles, and then we're going to blame Cuba and attack Cuba. That's Operation Northwoods. Here we are once again, time's a flat circle. Here we are, fucking with Cuba. And as we perpetrate legitimate violence on this little island, it's not that crazy that organic or even artificial violence that serves to create a pretext for the violence they've already perpetrated. So whatever. This is how they play their game. Moving on, we got stuff going on in Nigeria. So we got a little pickup over there. They're claiming they killed an ISIS leader over there in Nigeria. So, okay. I said on Truth Social, Trump did on Saturday, that a U.S. Nigerian military operation killed a senior ISIS leader. A joint attack that comes as the Nigerian government has been accused of killing hundreds of civilians in recent airstrikes. Tonight, at my direction, brave American forces and armed forces Nigeria flawlessly executed a meticulously planned and very complex mission to eliminate the most active terrorists in the world from the battlefield. Abu Bilal al-Manuki, the infamous Abu Bilal al-Manuki. We can all sleep so much better at night. Second in command of ISIS globally. Okay, all right, yeah, whatever. Thought he could hide in Africa, but little did he know he had sources who kept us informed on what he was doing, Trump added. Users on social media noted the Nigerian government claimed to kill an ISIS fighter with the same name in 2024, leading the Nigerian military to issue a statement insisting he was killed on Saturday. Okay. So, I mean, I don't know sometimes I wouldn't be surprised if they just make this shit up, because why wouldn't you? It is important to state that within the Northeast region across the Lake Chad Basin, the use of similar or identical names, aliases, and nom de guerres is common, which I think that's just like a nickname, is common among ISWAP and Boko Haram terrorists. Nigeria's defense headquarters said the Abu Bilal al-Munaki, eliminated on 16 May 2026, has been positively identified. There is therefore no ambiguity in his identity. U.S. officials told the New York Times al-Munaki was killed by an attack on two small islands in Lake Chad, a large freshwater body of water located near Nigeria. Niger, Chad, and Cameroon converge. The U.S. officials said that about 24 U.S. and Nigerian commandos attacked al-Manuki and about 36 fighters. After a 3-hour battle, the officials said al-Manuki was killed by U.S. airstrike on one of the islands. So, okay. All right. The attack marks the first known U.S. airstrike in the country since Trump ordered strikes on Christmas Day, which were said to target ISIS fighters in northwest Nigeria, though U.S. Tomahawk missiles fell on 2 villages far from the intended target. Since then, the U.S. has deployed troops to Nigeria and increased support for the Nigerian government's operations against Boko Haram and the ISIS affiliate. Since the U.S. support has increased, there have been several incidents involving major civilian casualties. The latest such strike occurred on Sunday, May 10th, when Amnesty International Nigeria's office said that over 100 civilians were killed by airstrikes in a market in northwestern Nigeria. For its part, the government acknowledged it launched a strike in the area, but claimed no civilians were harmed. And then there's more. And then they attacked more the following day. More airstrikes in Nigeria. So the U.S. has claimed more airstrikes in Nigeria as the Trump administration continues to escalate U.S. military involvement in the country. So it conducted additional kinetic strikes. This is coming from AFRICOM against ISIS in northeastern Nigeria on May 17th, a day after the U.S. and Nigeria carried out a joint commando operation that the two countries claimed killed a senior ISIS leader. U.S. officials told the New York Times the latest U.S. strikes were carried out by U.S. MQ-9 Reaper drones and AC-130 gunships. The U.S. deployed MQ-9 drones to Nigeria along with 200 troops earlier this year, but it's unclear if the U.S. also has AC-130 gunships in the country. The Nigerian military claimed that May 17 strikes killed 20 members of the Islamic State West Africa province. The Times said that it couldn't verify whether any civilians were harmed and noted the Nigerian government has been accused of killing hundreds of civilians in recent airstrikes. So, it's odd little bedfellows we make. I mean, hey, we're teaming up with Israel, murdering all sorts of civilians, so why wouldn't we do the same with Nigeria? Moving on past Nigeria, it looks like we have, and kind of looking a little bit over at Congress here. Actually, senators, I'm retarded. Apparently there's a proposal to get rid of the draft. So that's, I think they're heading up, maybe it's just the automatic draft part. I don't know, let's see. This is from Edward Hasbrook. The senators were proposed to head off automatic draft registration by repealing selective service. So no, I was correct the first time. They are actually talking about getting rid of the draft. So that would be cool. I mean, I don't necessarily have a whole lot of hope for this bill, but it's cool that we're even seeing these sorts of things being proffered out there. So on May 14th, Senators Ron Wyden and Rand Paul and Cynthia Lummis, so one Democrat and 2 Republicans, Ron Wyden being the Democrat, introduced the Selective Service Repeal Act. This bill already has the endorsement of dozens of peace and anti-war groups, draft resistors, religious organizations, anti-war feminists, and civil libertarians. The bipartisan bill to abolish this SSS, the Selective Service System, and end preparations for a military draft has been proposed in each session of Congress since 2019, but is yet to get a hearing or a floor vote in either this House or Senate. It says the timing is more critical than ever. Unless Congress takes action before December 18th, 2026, the SSS will start collecting data from other federal agencies to try to register potential draftees automatically. The White House is currently reviewing regulations to implement that change in the draft law, which is buried in the annual defense bill enacted in December 2025. So essentially the idea here is they're thinking that maybe this could head it off in some way. So the garbage in, garbage out process of automated involuntary registration won't produce a list that's complete, accurate, or fit the purpose of reliably and provably delivering induction orders, but it will allow war planners to continue to pretend that a draft is available as a fallback so they don't have to consider whether enough Americans will fight the wars they are planning, even if they prove bloodier than expected. And it will produce a list that's vulnerable to misuse and weaponization. If a war is worth fighting, Congress will vote to declare it and people will volunteer, Senator Paul said in reintroducing the Selective Service Repeal Act. According to Senator Wyden, the Selective Service is an outdated program that costs millions of taxpayer dollars to prepare for a military draft that Americans don't want or need. There's no need to replicate the same draft that sent 2 million unwilling young men to war 50 years ago. The attempt at automatic draft registration will inevitably be a fiasco. The only way to head it off is to end draft registration entirely. That won't happen unless Congress feels public pressure soon. In the past, the Selective Service Repeal Act has received significant bipartisan support in the House, but as of now, it's been reintroduced only in the Senate in the current Congress. Opponents of the draft should push their representatives to sponsor a House version as soon as possible. It's unlikely to be enacted as a standalone bill, especially in the current Congress. Probably stands a chance of approval only if it is included in the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2027. So it's critical to find members of the House and Senate Armed Services Committee who will introduce the Selective Service Repeal Act as an amendment to the NDAA, while the NDAA is still in committee. Draft registration failed, but the hapless Selective Service system and its network of undertrained and unready draft boards have lingered zombie-like for decades. Automatic registration won't work and will cause new problems. Tell Congress it's time to end draft registration entirely and stop pretending that Americans would accept or comply with any sort of military draft. Now, I definitely am all for getting rid of the draft. Now, I know a lot of people have been up in arms with this automatic draft thing. Now, to be very clear, I'm not in support of it, but it's also kind of like a whatever to me. I don't know, like, because you're already legally required to, like, to register for it when you turn 18 or whatever. And I guess not everybody does. I don't really know what the mechanisms for going after people do that. So it's just kind of like a minor. I guess it's a difference between like they're forcing you to opt in as opposed to you have no choice to, like, you're not even being forced. I guess you are still being forced, but you're being forced without actually having, like, you having to physically do it, if that makes sense, because they're just going to scrape your information from elsewhere and sign you up for it. So I don't know. I want the draft to go away, to be very clear. I don't know. I mean, I think maybe it sounds like they're saying, like, logistically it'll be a boondoggle. Like, that sounds like it'll be a nightmare. It sounds like all the more reasoning to inflate the budget of whatever, group is managing the draft and yada yada, a bunch of fucking government jobs being created as a result. So it sounds like a nightmare in that sense, trying to scrape all this information all over the internet. Moving on over to our greatest ally. They killed 7 over in Lebanon quite recently. So Israel airstrikes have continued again today. This was written yesterday, killing at least 7 people across Lebanon, including the leader of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, who was assassinated along with his teenage daughter. They were killed in an attack on a refugee camp near Baalbek. The attack have brought the Lebanese Health Ministry total war death toll over 3,000. So now they are over 3,000 for the first time this week, with 3,020 people having been killed in Israeli attacks and 9,273 others wounded since the invasion began on March. So since March, 3,000 people in Lebanon have died. That's pretty wild. And in the majority of that time, they were supposedly under some sort of ceasefire, which is a joke. The slain from these attacks include at least 292 women and 211 children. Well over 100 paramedics are among the slain as well in a war that has displaced roughly a quarter of the entire Lebanese population. Israel carried out an excess of 30 strikes against southern Lebanon on Monday as well, claiming all the attacks targeted sites that belong to Hezbollah, though offering no evidence to support those allegations. Israel similarly claimed that multiple people slain were Hezbollah operatives plotting attacks, though no evidence was offered to that effect either. Locals said the strikes seemed to be picking up intensity in recent days, despite the recent announcement of a 45-day extension of the ceasefire. Yay, the ceasefire is extended, despite the fact there basically isn't one. Since the ceasefire began last month, several hundred people have been killed in the daily attacks. Lebanese President Joseph Aoun expressed his intentions to do the impossible and make peace with Israel. So far, that effort seems to be yielding little as the war seems to continue apace. And over the weekend, there was 14 Palestinians killed over 3 days. I think they're including Friday there. So this was written on the 17th, so just the other day. So 14 people in Gaza over those days. Still them brazenly disobeying their own ceasefire there as well. So the health ministry said on Saturday it recorded the Israeli killing of 12 Palestinians and the injury of 57 over the previous 48 hours. It says a number of victims are still under the rubble in the streets as ambulance and civil defense crews have been unable to reach them so far. And then the following day, they killed 6 more over in Gaza. So over the past 24 hours from yesterday, there's been, or the day before that, there's been another 6. So 20 in the past 4 days killed over in Gaza. And then we have Netanyahu admitting they're taking more territory in Gaza, despite the fact, let's go back to, that's against the ceasefire. That is against the terms of the ceasefire, yet they keep doing it because ceasefires seem to mean nothing to Israel. So Netanyahu admits Israel is taking more territory in Gaza in violation of ceasefire deal. This is from Dave DeCamp over antiwar.com. Netanyahu has admitted at a cabinet meeting that Israel has taken more territory in Gaza since the ceasefire was supposed to go into effect in October 2025, acknowledgement of Israeli violation of the truce deal. When the deal was signed in October 2025, Israeli troops pulled back to an agreed-upon line known as the Yellow Line, which left about 53% of Gaza under IDF occupation, but that area of control has expanded. In Gaza now, we already control not 50%, but 60%, he said, according to the Times of Israel, confirming reports that said Israel now controls 60% of the Palestinian territory. The ceasefire deal that Israel and Hamas signed in October 2025 said the IDF will not return to areas that have been withdrawn from as long as Hamas fully implements the agreement. And Hamas had fulfilled its side of the deal by releasing all living Israeli hostages and bodies that it had and working to recover other Israeli remains. Israeli officials have claimed Hamas is violating the deal by not disarming, but the agreement didn't commit Hamas to giving up its weapons. The two sides agreed to a U.S. proposal they called for the demilitarization of Gaza as a framework for negotiations. But the issue of disarmament was meant to be worked out in follow-up negotiations. For its part, Hamas has maintained that disarmament must be linked to a path toward a Palestinian state, and has also stated that it won't discuss the issue until the first phase of the ceasefire is actually implemented. Who would have thought that we won't move on to the next part of the ceasefire until you actually fucking cease fire? Israel has constantly violated the agreement by launching daily attacks in Gaza, killing more than 870 Palestinians since it was supposed to go into effect. It has also not consistently allowed the agreed-upon number of aid trucks to enter the besieged territory. Despite the constant Israeli violations, the so-called Board of Peace, a U.S.-led body meant to oversee the implementation of the agreement, has put the blame on Hamas's unwillingness to disarm for the lack of progress implementing President Trump's plan for the Palestinian Authority. And to finish up our talk on Israel, apparently, here's from a piece from Kyle Anzalone over at the Libertarian Institute. Apparently, the ICC, there's a report the ICC prosecutor is seeking an arrest warrant for Smotrich. So for those, I believe it was Yoav Gallant and Netanyahu are the current ones who have arrest warrants out for them. I think it'll say it in the piece, but I think Yoav is like the former Minister of Defense or something. I think he resigned shortly after October 7th or something like that. And obviously Netanyahu being the other one. So looks like they're getting ready to expand that, so I'm here for it. Let's dig a little bit into this. This is a prosecutor at the ICC, the International Criminal Court, is seeking an arrest warrant for Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich. Good. Middle East Eye reported, speaking with officials on Monday, who confirmed that the office of the prosecutor at the ICC is seeking a warrant for Smotrich for alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity committed against Palestinians in the West Bank. Israel occupies the West Bank and, according to human rights groups, imposes a system of apartheid against the Palestinians. It's becoming part of the government led by Netanyahu in 2022. Smotrich has worked to expel Palestinians from the West Bank and build new Israeli settlements. Yeah, Smotrich is the one who's probably most well known for the West Bank stuff and pushing all that. Between him and Ben Gvir, it's kind of neck and neck between the two of them. Ethnic cleansing and settling people in occupied lands are both violations of international law. And in my head, I don't even know which one I'd say Smotrich I probably associate more with them, but Gvir is big into that stuff as well. Earlier this week, Haaretz reported the ICC had issued secret arrest warrants for 5 unnamed Israelis. The ICC and sources speaking with Middle East Eye say the report is incorrect. However, the ICC prosecutor is also seeking an arrest warrant for, here we go, speaking of the devil, Ben Gvir, Israeli National Security Minister Itamar Ben Gvir, and one other official, so hell yeah. The ICC previously issued arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and former Defense Minister, hell yeah, I got it right, Yoav Gallant, as well as 3 Hamas officials who have been killed. Israel is not a signatory to the treaty that created the ICC and is not bound to comply with the arrest warrants. However, states that are members of the court would be required to arrest any person warranted or wanted by the ICC who travels to their country, which I don't remember. I think it was Ireland, maybe? Maybe I'm misremembering the country. But there was a recent election in some country who's kind of historically been known for being friendly with Israel that there was a new guy put in there. I think maybe it was Turkey. Was it Turkey? With the maybe it's Turkey I'm thinking of. I don't know. There's some country recently that was a big story where he was like, no, we'll fucking arrest that guy. Like, we will arrest Smotrich if he comes here. And I think, if I recall correctly, I believe the story was even like Netanyahu framed it as like, oh, look, the new leader of this country has invited me to his country. Because I guess they'd had a personal correspondence. And then the guy clarified that, like, to be clear, like, basically heavily implying that, like, he basically was like, come here and we'll arrest you. Like, that was actually the context of it. And so then Netanyahu just took the, oh, come here. And so he's like, oh, an invitation to come over. Yeah, he's inviting you to come here to get arrested, you dumb fuck. But, leave it to Netanyahu to find any way to frame the situation in his advantage. But with that, that's all we got for our foreign policy coverage for today. Let's roll the chat, say some more good mornings, say our goodbyes. Help a brother out, hit the like button. I'm probably buried in the algo after not being on YouTube for like a week, so help me out if you're over there. Boosted in all the different places. But yeah, let's roll through the chat, say some more good mornings. See who's in here, see if there's anything interesting in here. Tom says Massie having consensual sex with an adult woman is probably a scandal in what is in ZT circles. Yeah, right. Exactly. Cultural Swine says, wonder what's going on with those 800,000 Chinese students that Trump weirdly stopped talking about given his recent trip as well in recent revelation of the Chinese spies in California government. Yeah, we covered that Chinese spy things the other day. It looks a little fishy. I don't know. I don't know what to make of all that. I don't know if these things are necessarily tied to the other. It's always hard to tell what's going on at that level, but it wouldn't be surprised at all. That's for sure. Wag the dog, wag the zog. Very clever. Good morning, Chekoho. Good morning, good morning. Tom says, just declared an indefinite ceasefire if you're not going to cease firing. Like, you're literally physically not doing what the thing it says in the name. How are things this dumb now? That's Israel. That's Israel for you. All right, guys. Man, we got done early today. Way earlier than I thought we would. But hey, whatever. Worked out for me. We'll be back tonight. It leaves me a lot more to talk about. Gives me a lot more, gives me a little rest on the vocal cords for tonight, assuming the internet feds don't strike once again. But for those who want to support what I'm doing, by the way, we do have an outro for you guys I think you will like. But for those who want to support what I'm doing, leave a like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. You can find the show on YouTube, Rumble, all the major audio podcatchers as well. You can find this on Twitter. That's at Tower Gang Jose. Everywhere else, just look for the No Way Jose podcast. If you want to support the show the best way you can do this with money right here over at patreon.com. Just No Way Jose 2020. You got the QR code right here. If you want to use that, takes you to the same place. Over there, you get a whole host of perks. You get access at the low level of $2. You give access to early episodes. I try to do about 1 to 2 of those per week. Try to give you guys about 3 to 4 behind the paywall at any given time. Also give you guys access to the ad-free RSS feed, give you guys access to Telegram, the pre-show, the post-show, and video calls. And me and Austin's weekly live call-in show, Already Dead, which is tonight at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. So pop in, call in, hang out. And at the highest level is my sponsors, and I give them a big shout-out as a big thank you for their support at the end of every episode. My previous Coast and Tire Gang, at Learn Toad, also at Brigade D's, at ZWCK, at _Zeal, Tim Tuttle, at Jolin Cleveland, big fan of the show, Torn May, at Wayne Texas, One for Kids, No Free Lunch, Jack, Mark Vestibule, Jacob Wintergrad, a Biblical Anarchy Podcast, and Jacob Black, that beautiful bastard. And with that, guys, do all the things, support the show. We'll see you on the next one. See you tonight, and we will see you tomorrow morning. I should be back for another one. And finally, do that segment I told you guys I was going to do, intended on doing it yesterday. I have it all ready to go. Talk about Teal's Nazi pedo army. Should be that segment has really developed into a big-ass segment, so that'll be a fun one. Looking forward to that. A lot more stuff connected to that theme has come up since then. So, but for today's outro, I have a funny little, since we finished with foreign policy, we'll stay on theme. Here is an emo song of Trump's Iran war rants. So enjoy this. We'll see you tomorrow or tonight if you're over there at Already Dead. We'll see you. Bye-bye.
With Operation Epic Fury.
It's only good if you win. We won in the first hour. Open the fucking straight, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch! A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. Iran is charging seas to tankers going through the Hormuz Strait. They better not be in, and if they are, they better stop now! The leadership is dead! The Strait of Hormuz will soon be open. Iran decided to fire bullets yesterday in the Strait of Hormuz. A total violation of our ceasefire agreement. No more Mr. Nice Guy! They'll come down fast, they'll come down easy, and if they don't take the deal, it will be my honor to do what has to be done. We're fighting wars we can't take care of. Daycare. Anyone sick of winning yet?